Hello everyone and welcome to the Michigan International Speedway, where in a few minutes we will present you the highlight coverage of the Saar, Nebraska 100, the first race of the new season for the American short trackers Voltson Super Trucks. The series enters its third year of competition in 2016, and the new season brings with it several drivers and teams that we have not seen before. They will be joining the established drivers and teams here for a 50-lap race at the Michigan International Speedway. As far as speedways go, MIS is a pretty good place to start for drivers and teams that are used to short track bullring racing. The track is a very wide racing surface and smooth flowing corner entries and exits. However, winning here in this series does not come easy. There are 33 trucks entered in the race today. That is more than any race that has been held in the past 2 years. And with the fastest and slowest qualifying times being separated by only 0.605 seconds, there's no telling who's going to leave the Irish Hills with the trophy at the end of the day. We will soon bring you coverage of the race, but before we do so, we're going to take you through the starting lineup. Rounding out the field is Camden Rhodes, who was promoted at Operation JM this year to a full-time ride. Starting in row 16 is Brian Kelly, who's making his first visit to a speedway, and Connor Cote of the 68 car making his only start of the year. Larry Kowalczyk returns to MIS with defending race winner Jason Miller starting all the way back in 29th. John White starts 28th with rookie Juan Cortez of Mexico on his inside. Kevin Thompson on the outside of row 13 with late model driver Nick Moss in 25th. Ryan Anderson returns to MIS with the defending series champion Daryl Quick in 23rd. The Lake Erie trucks make up row 11 with Princehorn in 22nd and Churchill in 21st. Rachel Kowalczyk rounds out the top 20 with Alex DeFranco, another rookie on her inside. Jeffrey Jackson makes his first visit to MIS, with Carl Gargolak making his third start at this track. Riley Durbin is racing for Focus Autosports in the 3 truck. He's on the outside of John Bennett in row 8. Mary Brousseau and Hunter Blaze, two very established racers who don't have wins yet, starting in row 7. Legend Hart is on the outside of row 12, making his first start, with Jenny Jackson on his inside. Danny Vigo and Nancy Keith make up row number 5. Ronald Way and Amberly Weiss in row 4. Starting in row 3 is Kathy Gargolak in 6th, and Wilson Timothy rounding up the top 5 in his second visit to this track. Daniela Jacobson is a great qualifying run and will start in 4th on the outside of Gordon Davis. On the outside pole is Chase Eberhardt, who always qualifies well here at MIS. And leading the field to the start for the second year in a row is Michael McKinley, the 99M, the 5-time race winner and the runner-up in last year's championship. It's not much of a surprise to see the 99M and the 91 make up the front row. McKinley has 7 career poles to his name, and Eberhardt has 2. Neither of them have qualified worse than 4th for this race in the past 2 seasons. We're going to have to get used to that new look on the 99M truck this year, that very nice looking blue and yellow Coletta scheme debuting for this race. As the trucks pace around the track, it's always exciting in the season opening weekend for race fans, just to hear the roar of the engines and to see the cars lined up and ready to go after a long off-season wait. It has been a very long off-season indeed, but today the wait is over. The pace truck pulls off into the pits, and we are set to go racing. The green flag is in the air, and we are underway at the Michigan International Speedway. Michael McKinley gets a great start over Chase Eberhardt and will take the lead heading into turn number 1. Gordon Davis in the 32 got a good start himself, and through turns 1 and 2 for the first time is alongside the 91 and trying to move up into second place. Eberhardt, however, is holding strong on the outside. He's going to retain that position, and he's also going to bring Daniela Jacobson with him in the 57. He's now going after Michael McKinley for the lead. The 99M leads the first lap of the new season, but Eberhardt is trying to make sure he leads the second on the inside of McKinley into turn number 1. With Jacobson right there, Eberhardt's not going to be able to get around McKinley, and in fact Jacobson passes him on the outside. The 15-year-old from the Auto City Speedway had a rather poor rookie season, but is off to a great start here this week at MIS. And behind the top 3, the rest of the field is bunched together very closely, as we have seen in the opening laps of the last 2 races here. Wilson Timothy's trying to get by Gordon Davis to take over the 4th position, and there's a crash in the midfield. That's Riley Durbin going into the wall, and several other cars are in trouble with him. Let's take another look at this. Watch Danny Vigo in the 80 truck. Up on Durbin's outside, he gets hooked by the 500 of Jeffrey Jackson and turned down into the 3. Durbin goes back up into the wall, and several trucks go spinning down the front stretch. Durbin gets turned around again after he straightens the truck out across the front of Brianna Prinzhorn. A lot of trucks are going to receive significant damage in this accident. Here's another look at Jeffrey Jackson of the 500 truck. He just got too close to Vigo off the corner, didn't lift off the throttle, and hit the back of the 80 truck. And while trying to get his truck back under control, he hits Zach Churchill and sends him spinning. A few other drivers were in trouble as well, including Jason Miller in the 40 car, your defending race winner. Looked to be in the clear by getting by several trucks on the outside, but Ryan Anderson gets forced up the track and stuffs Miller into the wall. Anderson went spinning, as well as Larry Kowalczyk in the 401. There's Camden Rhodes on the inside, who we are now on board with right now. Rhodes has had a very hard time adapting to the big speedway here this weekend. He qualified in last, and his race is now over, only 2 laps in, with a hit to the back of Brianna Prinzhorn, who got shoved right down into his path. We're now on board Riley Durbin himself, minding his own business in the middle of the pack, and there was obviously nothing he could have done about that. Victim of someone else's mistake. That tends to happen in pack racing such as this, and a lot of fast trucks are going to be damaged to the point where they will not be competitive. Durbin and Rhodes, however, are the only 2 who will go out of the race. And looking off the rear bumper of John Bennett, watching the field behind him descend into madness. Under caution, something rather odd would occur. Michael McKinley hits the pit lane from the lead, and virtually the entire rest of the field follows him in. All but 7 trucks take to the pits. This race is short enough to where they can go without changing tires or refueling, and with such a congested pit lane full of short track racers who aren't used to making pit stops, you can expect a few problems. Jason Miller and Kathy Garglock get together as Miller tries to pit, but fortunately that's the only incident that occurs on pit road. Michael McKinley loses the race out of the pits to Gordon Davis. Chase Eberhardt and Jenny Jackson beat him out as well, so that's going to relegate McKinley down to 11, and he's just wrecked on pit out! He hit the wall on the left side of the track and took Kathy Garglock with him, and Daniela Jacobson crashes into the 30. Wilson Timothy got a small piece as well. That was a very bizarre incident. Michael McKinley has just crashed while exiting the pits. Let's take another look at exactly what happened. He just turns too far to the left and hits the wall on the inside, bouncing off into the 30, and Jacobson must not be paying much attention. She runs into Garglock's truck. I don't know if McKinley was focusing on Garglock's truck in his mirrors, or if he just tried to give her too much room, but this incident is going to have significant implications on the race. McKinley and Jacobson were first and second at the beginning of the caution, and now they both have significant damage. Nancy Keith leads the field to the restart. She was the first driver not to pit. Ronald Way, Legend Hart, Carl Garglock, Nick Moss, Daryl Quick, and John White also stayed out, and they make up the top 7 on the restart. There's Jason Miller on the inside, who just got his repairs completed in the pits. Michael McKinley did not return to the pit lane for repairs of his own, and you can see just how much that damage is hurting him. He is very slow to get up to speed on the restart, and bunching up the trucks behind him. Everybody's scrambling to try and get around the 99M before they lose too much ground, and even some of the other damaged trucks are racing by the 99M, and whoa, there's contact just in front of him. Danny Vigo got into his teammate Jason Miller, the 40 truck merging back onto the track and right in front of the 80. Miller, or his spotter, must not be paying very much attention, but fortunately no accident results. Nancy Keith and Ronald Way waste no time in beginning to pull away from the rest of the field, as several trucks battle for third behind them. Carl Garglock currently holds the position, and Daryl Quick and Legend Hart fight for 5th. Hart, one of the rookies this year, will be sharing that truck with Evan Bradley on a part-time basis. And Quick, of course, is the 2-time defending series champion and the 2014 winner of this very race. It's not much of a surprise to see him up front, although he got there by not pitting. And now he is losing a few positions to Nick Moss and Legend Hart, who gets back around him on the outside. The entirety of the top 10 is racing very close together, with Connor Coda and Brian Kelly shortly thereafter catching up to them and making this a 12-car pack. Coda and Kelly were both held up by Michael McKinley on the restart, but they have both managed to catch back up. Daniela Jacobson is running well off the pace after sustaining damage in that incident of precaution. Look at how quickly Nancy Keith and Ronald Way blast by her on the inside, and here comes the rest of the field trying to split the 57. there's nothing that she can do when she's that far off the pace but to hold her line and let everybody try to get around her, and that is exactly what she's doing. So it's good to see that Jacobsen's being courteous towards the leaders, but unfortunately for Daryl Quick, he has not been able to find his way around her in time to avoid losing many positions as the rest of the field goes by. And contact with Jacobsen! The 82 is spinning down the front straightaway. Jacobsen and Larry Kowalczyk are stuck along the wall, and now they go spinning as well. The caution's out for the second time. There's Jason Miller and Danny Vigo in trouble. Heavy damage to both of the Operation JM teammates. We have to take another look at what happened here. Juan Cortez, as he comes up on the 82, tries to pass him on the outside, but he pulls up into the side of Larry Kowalczyk, and here comes traffic at high speed, and a heavy crash. Jason Miller smashes into Daryl Quick head-on at almost full speed. That was a frightening impact. There's the 40 truck coming up on the accident scene, and does not seem to slow down, running head-on into the 82. That was a very scary crash indeed. Miller was traveling at about 160 miles an hour when he hit the 82. Let's go on board Larry Kowalczyk. There's Cortez, not paying much attention to the fact that the 401's already on the outside lane when he pulls up the track. He stuffs Jacobsen and the 401 into the wall. Wilson Timothy, Jeffrey Jackson, and Mary Brousseau are also going to get involved, and the accident's going to take Brousseau, Quick, Vigo, and Miller out of the race. And both of your drivers who have won this event in the past 2 years, Miller and Quick, are done for the day. Their trucks are destroyed after a frightening head-on collision at the end of the front stretch, the fastest part of the track. We do hope that both of them are okay. Daniela Jacobsen does not drop out of the race as a result of damage from the crash, but her truck breaks down on her under caution, and she will not be able to rejoin the race. It's a shame to see Jacobsen have to drop out of the race after she got off to such a promising start. Nancy Keith leads on the restart with Ronald Way in second. John Bennett has worked his way up into third, and in fourth place is the 75 of Amberly Weiss, so perhaps Team Michigan can still get a good result here today, although she's facing a challenge now from the 19-year-old rookie Nick Moss. The late model driver from Lansing is adapting quite well to the speedway here this week. He avoided the big crash on lap number 2 and is holding on to a spot in the top 5. That is until John White gets around him on the outside. White was one of the slowest drivers in this race last year, so I'm sure that he's very pleased to find himself running inside the top 5. As we now have a battle for second. John Bennett has come to the inside of Ronald Way and is trying to clear him off the corner. These are two of the older drivers in the field, Way at age 52 and Bennett at age 61, but they are having very good runs. Bennett has slowly been working his way through the field for most of the race, and as he clears the 69, he now finds himself in the second position. There's plenty of action in the lower end of the top 10 as well. Ryan Kelly gets around Connor Cota for the 7th position. Chase Eberhardt and Carl Gargalock run right behind them. Cota is of course a one-off for this race. He will not be showing up to any of the races in the series this year, so he definitely wants to perform as best as he possibly can. Ronald Way and John White have lost a bit of ground to the top 3 and are now about to become part of this battle. And as Kelly moves to the inside of Moss down the front straightaway, he's going to make it 4 wide, 4 position. That is very dangerous to do despite how wide the racing surface here is. However, by the time they reach the corner, they are back down to 3 wide. These drivers putting on a very good show for the fans, but despite racing so competitively, they are racing cleanly as well. Speaking of competitive racing, the top 3 drivers are putting on a show of their own, running nose to tail until John Bennett goes to the inside of Nancy Keith in an effort to take the lead from her. Nobody's challenged the 18 truck since she inherited the lead under caution on lap number 2, or the caution that was brought out on lap number 2, but Bennett now making a run on her at the inside. He can't get it done this time, but is going to try the same move the very next lap. Bennett has been racing street stocks and modifieds for much of the past 20 years, and prior to that he was a racer in what is now known as part. He hopes to work his way back up the order of racing again despite his age, but whether or not he is able to do so, he looks to have what it takes to compete in this series, having a very good run so far today, although he still cannot find his way around Nancy Keith, and Amberly Weiss, with a move to the outside of turn 4, is going to get by the 58 and take over the second position. Further down the order in 11th place is Gordon Davis in the 32. he is slowly reeling in Karl Gargalock, who is the last car in the lead pack of cars. Davis is actually setting some of the fastest lap times of the race. Right behind him are Legend Hart, Rachel Kowalczyk, Hunter Blaze, and Kevin Thompson, who are doing battle with each other. Jenny Jackson, Zach Churchill, and Alex DeFranco are running well behind them. And everybody else in the field has received damage from earlier accidents. Larry Kowalczyk leads this group of 4 cars, and Wilson Timothy leads an even slower group of 4 cars. At this point, we still have more cars on track than we have show up to most of the race weekends in this series. Amberly Weiss has not been able to challenge Nancy Keith for the lead, and now John Bennett wants his second place back, moving to the inside of Weiss through turns 3 and 4. And looking at the flyback cam down the back straightaway, you can see just how close the top 10 drivers still are. Ronald Way has regained a lot of the ground he lost, and is now back in the fight for the win. And he brings several drivers with him, and Weiss sees them coming and wants to get back to the front herself, trying to move around Bennett in the same maneuver that he used a few laps ago to take the second position back from her. Looking off the front bumper of Ronald Way as she moves to his inside again the next lap, and now is where we begin what seems to be our yearly montage from this race of 2 drivers who race very hard with each other and refuse to give an inch. This year it's between Amberly Weiss and John Bennett, the orange truck with black numbers versus the black truck with orange numbers. Eventually Bennett is going to keep his second position after a very spirited effort from Weiss. And now Weiss is facing pressure from Brian Kelly in the 6, who has been watching this battle the entire time. He got around Way while they were doing so, and now he gets around Weiss and moves himself into 3rd. Kelly's having a very impressive run for a Rockford Speedway racer, but all of these drivers are running out of time to make something happen and to catch up to Nancy Keith. Although this lap traffic may aid them in doing so, they catch up to the end of the field. Kathy Gargalock's the first driver to go a lap down, and there they go by Ron Anderson in the 333. These drivers seem to be staying well out of the leader's way. Juan Cortez and Wilson Timothy are next, and again everybody is staying on the high line and letting the leaders go by, hardly interfering with their battles. Wilson Timothy in particular could have helped his teammate Brian Kelly had he decided to hold up the 18 and the 58, so great sportsmanship there from Timothy in deciding not to do so, and the leaders race on uninterrupted. John Bennett is still on the back of Nancy Keith's bumper, and he moves to her inside into turn number 3, making another run for the lead, as he did so multiple times earlier on in the race. Keith is holding on strong on the outside. The 18 truck has started most of the races in this series in the past 2 years. She has shown a lot of speed, but has not been able to win a race so far. Trying to do so today for the first time in her career, but off of turn 4, Bennett clears her and takes over the lead of the race, becoming the first driver to take it from her since the first caution. Brian Kelly cannot follow Bennett through into second place, and now he has to deal with Connor Coda in the 68, who all of a sudden has worked his way back up into the top 5. He is running in 4th, and speaking of people working their way forward, Gordon Davis has not slowed down. He has caught up to this lead group of cars, getting by John White. He's already dispatched Chase Eberhardt and Nick Moss, and now only seconds later, he's going for Ronald Way as well. So Davis charging his way towards the front, and he might have just enough time to get there. Eberhardt and Moss, who I just mentioned Davis has already passed, are slowly losing the main pack, and Nancy Keith is not going down without a fight. She moves to the inside at John Bennett on the inside in turn number 1, but Bennett is going to pull ahead on corner entry and hang on to the lead of the race. But Keith is determined to get the victory after leading so many laps today. She moves to the inside again just 1 lap later, and Bennett still is going to hold her off. They're coming up on the lap truck of Brianna Prinzhorn now, who could play interference with them, but similarly to the other lap trucks, she decides to stay out of the way. And here comes Keith, now with a better run into the turn than the 58. Bennett slips up the track, but recovers the car and keeps it on the gas. And yet again, he's going to keep ahead of the 18. Bennett is definitely having to work as hard as he possibly can to keep the lead of the race, and now as he takes the white flag, he has just 1 more lap to hold off the 18 truck, and Nancy Keith has 1 more lap to make a move on the 58. Through turns 1 and 2, it looks like Bennett is slowly pulling away from the 18, and Kelly's making a run at Keith himself. As they head down the backstretch and into turn number 3 for the final time, Keith has too much ground to make up on the 58 and not enough time to do so. Rounding the final corner and coming down to take the checkered flag, it is another debutant driver who's going to win here at the Michigan International Speedway. John Bennett takes the checkered flag and wins the Saar, Nebraska 100. Congratulations to everybody at John Bennett Racing on the victory, as they have begun their rookie season on the highest note possible. Nancy Keith has to settle for second place yet again, which must be very disappointing after leading most of the laps. However, it is still a very good result for the 18. Brian Kelly finishes in third and scores his second career podium in just his third start. Amberly Weiss, after her fantastic run today, finishes in fourth, and Gordon Davis managed to work his way all the way up into fifth and almost got by Weiss for fourth, but he ran out of laps to chase down the rest of the leaders. Connor Cota finishes in sixth in his only race of the year. Ronald Way falls back to seventh. John White finishes in eighth. Chase Eberhardt in ninth. And Nick Moss, another driver making his debut, rounds out the top 10.